Have you ever felt that quiet little voice in the back of your mind, whispering that something is wrong? Not loud, not dramatic. Just a subtle tug at your gut telling you that the life you're living isn't what it seems. That's exactly how this story begins, with a husband who sensed something long before he understood it, and with a betrayal so calculated that karma herself had to step in. Back in the early 2000s, he lived a simple life. A quiet neighborhood, a modest home, two little kids who filled every room with laughter, and a wife he genuinely believed he knew, truly knew, inside and out. But routines have a way of hiding things. They make lies easier to slip through the cracks. And soon, he would discover just how big those cracks already were. His wife had always been close to her parents. They lived about an hour and a half away, so a visit here and there wasn't strange. But suddenly, she was making that drive 2, sometimes 3 times a week. At first, it didn't scream affair. Life gets busy. Parents get older. Excuses make sense until they don't. And then the kids started talking. "Mommy took us to Grandma's again, twice this week." He froze when he heard that, not because it was proof, but because it confirmed what his gut had been pushing him to see. He confronted his wife gently, asked if everything was okay. Her answer came too fast. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You're just being paranoid," she said. But she had never been a good liar. Not once. That was the moment the unease turned into suspicion. He didn't yell, didn't accuse, didn't even bring it up again. He simply walked into the garage one night and checked the odometer on her car. Every week, an extra 400 miles. Not 90. Not the quick trip to her parents' house. 400. And his heart sank. Because now he knew. She wasn't visiting family. She was visiting someone else. Then fate stepped in. One morning, he walked into their office and found a sticky note on the desk. Her AOL password, written clearly, carelessly, almost invitingly. He stared at it for a long time. Part of him still wanted to trust her, still wanted to believe he was overthinking. But eventually, the truth mattered more than the comfort of the lie. He logged in, and what he found shattered him. Email after email, message after message. Conversations between his wife and her college best friend, laughing about how she was meeting up with her high school ex, making plans behind his back, even mocking that man's wife for letting herself go after having kids. It wasn't just cheating. It was cruelty. His hands shook as he printed every single message. Proof. Cold. Undeniable. But he needed more. A friend who worked in law enforcement pointed him to a PI named Ron, a former cop, tough and brutally thorough. He gave Ron everything. The emails, the mileage logs, the timeline, his suspicions. A week later, Ron called. "I've got what you're looking for." And the file he delivered was devastating. Photos, receipts, exact dates and times. It was like watching a movie he never wanted to be in. His wife dropping the kids off at her parents', meeting the man for lunch, then heading into a rundown motel for hours at a time. Every single week. And every night, she came home, kissed him on the cheek, and said, "I love you." Like nothing had happened. He sat awake that night, staring into the dark, remembering his own childhood, the affairs, the screaming, the collapse of his parents' marriage. He had sworn his kids would never go through that. But here it was, history trying to repeat itself. he wouldn't let it. He hired a divorce lawyer immediately. But he wasn't done. He needed to know who Bob really was, the man his wife had blown up their family for. And Ron delivered again. Bob was married, with 3 kids, and he worked as a VP at his father-in-law's company. That was the moment something in the husband shifted. Not rage, not despair, just clarity. He didn't need to scream. He didn't need to fight. All he had to do was let the truth do the destroying. Timing was everything. One morning, his wife was at work when a process server walked into her office in front of her co-workers and handed her divorce papers. While she stood there in shock, Ron drove straight to Bob's home and handed a full report to Bob's wife. Photos, emails, motel receipts, all of it. She broke down, then something in her hardened. Within days, she emptied their joint accounts, packed her kids, and left. Next came the fallout. When her father, Bob's boss, learned the truth, he fired Bob on the spot. And because the home Bob lived in belonged to her family, he was evicted too. From there, things spiraled into chaos. Their divorce was a public disaster. Police were called. Restraining orders were filed. Rumors spread like wildfire. Bob's clean life disintegrated. And the husband. He stayed silent. He didn't have to lift a finger. The truth carried more weight than any revenge plot ever could. Years later, Bob seemingly vanished. No social media. No public record. His life faded into nothing. But his ex-wife thrived. She took over her father's company, raised her kids, rebuilt her world from the ground up. As for the husband's ex-wife, they stayed civil for the sake of the kids, holidays, graduations, phone calls. But the moment those kids became adults, he cut ties completely. No anger, no bitterness, just peace. Because sometimes, silence is the loudest revenge of all. The truth carried more weight than any revenge plot ever could. And the coldest revenge doesn't always come with shouting or chaos. Sometimes the most devastating justice is quiet, calm, inevitable. Because people who build their lives on lies eventually fall by their own hand. All he had to do was step back and watch karma arrive right on time. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and drop a comment. Would you have handled it quietly or gone nuclear? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of betrayal and pity revenge. Thanks for watching.